Sometimes it was his own. Matthew chapter 16, thou art the Christ, the Son of the living God. All right, Peter, I'm glad you got that. I need to go to Jerusalem now and I'm going to suffer and die. No, you're not. Get behind me. The disciples didn't always understand. They would mistake the things that he was saying to be relevant for the moment rather than down the road. Sometimes it was the masses. There's a lot of times as we've been working our way through the Gospel of John that we've noticed that the crowds it's not registering. They're hearing what he's saying and it does not make any sense to them. Sometimes it was the rulers, the religious leaders. They would come to the temple to hear him, or they would show up where he's performing a miracle and they would get it all mixed up. In fact, Mark chapter 5, at times people laughed at him. You remember the story in Mark 5? He has gone to the home of a man whose daughter is sick and dying, and by the time he gets there, she has passed from this life. And Jesus being the man of the moment, Jesus being, what's he tell Mary and Martha? I am the resurrection. I am the life. Says, don't worry, she's asleep. He uses that image of death and sleep and it being temporary. And it says the ones who had come to mourn, the family that's gathered, the people that are there laugh at him because they do not understand what he means. They do not understand who he is. So that when he raises her from the dead, they don't know what to think about it. Jesus was misunderstood, and at times he was literally laughed at. At times they just thought he was nuts. Literally thought he was crazy. Matthew chapter 3, his brothers, his family come to the house to get him because they think he has lost his mind. Remember, there's this extended time in his ministry that his brothers do not believe that he is who he claims to be. And this is one of those times. And they're going to go physically lay hands on him and take him back home because in their mind, he needs to be committed. He's claiming to be the Son of God. We're all sons of Mary. We got the same father, the carpenter, Joseph. He's lost his mind. The rulers, the same text, Mark chapter 3, verse 20, 21. His brothers are there. What's it say in verse 22? It says the rulers came out and said that he was possessed. He was nuts. He has to have a demon to say and to try to do the things that he's doing. The crowds. Remember, as we work through the Gospel of John, we've noticed that there is always this divide about Jesus. He is a polarizing figure. He is either drawing people to him or they are being repelled by what they see, repulsed. And so the crowd is in a disagreement again. He's demon possessed. No, he's a good man. What's he think he's saying? What's he think he's doing? And so you think about it, God in the flesh, walking on this earth, everything he teaches is good. Everything he does is good. He's proving himself over and over by the power of his miracles. And the world wants to have him committed. At times they just think he's ridiculous in what he's teaching. That the things that he is saying are too difficult for them to grasp. Remember the context of John 6. Remember that he has fed the masses and they have continued to follow him. And he finally tired of his popularity being based on the fact that he could feed them from a few loaves and a few fish, he turns and looks at them and said, look, you were only following me because I fed you. And he begins to talk about what? Eating his flesh and drinking his blood. And the crowd goes, I don't like this. That's too hard for us to grasp. And they leave in masses. They leave in chunks, in numbers, because what he's saying is too difficult for them. They're not willing to buy into his truth. Not much has changed. Just with the events of this past week, we see a man who takes a moral stand. We see a man who has the ability to debate and use the truth to prove his point. And he is ridiculed. He is laughed at. He is insulted. He is called names. And finally, he's assassinated. They're going to laugh at us. A tremendous amount of the people in this world are going to laugh at us when we say we believe in God. That there is a divine being that is outside of this world that we cannot see, we cannot touch, that we only know through faith, but He is real. They refuse to look at the evidence. And they will literally laugh in our faces, ridicule us, mock us, because our faith to them is a crutch. And yet we know it's the only way of life. Not much has changed in our world. When we give evidence for creation, they want to mock the evidence. They want to laugh at us and tell us that it's all by chance. And they have all of their formulas as to how it came about. And we've done that before. We've looked at those ridiculous numbers of probability and chance of even a single cell coming into existence. And yet, we're the ones that get made fun of. They think we're nuts when we take a moral stand, when we say that abortion is wrong, that it is the taking of a life, and we're defending life from conception. We're defending the fact that God said, I knew you before I made you in the womb. I already had a plan for you. We say those kind of things, and they think we've lost our minds. They think we're nuts when we say that homosexuality is a choice and that it's wrong and that there is a line that God has drawn and we're either on the right side of it or the wrong side of it and there's no middle ground there. But we're the ones who are nuts. Our teachings are too difficult. Even within the religious world at times, the church, our teachings are, in the minds of some, too narrow, too harsh, too judgmental. We don't have the right to say that there's a right and wrong. We don't have a right to call something sin. We don't have a right to say that there are moral absolutes. And they misunderstand. They misunderstand what love is. Love does not allow what? Your child to walk into the middle of 72 because you've given him freedom of choice. Love puts boundaries there. Love intercepts those children. Love says, no, some things are not good for you or they're not right. So here's where we're headed. What is our response? What is our response to the events of this past week? I asked that question this morning, and I just kind of gave you a prelude of what we were going to talk about. What did Jesus do? When they're laughing at Him, when they are mocking Him, when they are physically abusing Him, when ultimately they are taking His life, how does He respond? Well, in John 8, He loved and confronted at the same time. A woman caught in the very act of adultery. Yeah, according to the law, I'm going to side with the law. She deserves to die. So I'm going to let whichever one of you is without sin cast the first stone. All right, they all walk away. The stones hit the ground, and she looks around. There's nobody there. And he asks, does no one condemn you? Neither do I. Go and sin no more. I'm going to love you, and I'm going to put boundaries around you all at the same time. So Jesus didn't back away from the truth to get popular. In fact, when the crowds didn't like the truth, he kept going with it until at times they walked away from him. In John 16 and verse 33, he said, I overcame. They're about to take your life, Jesus. I overcame. You're going to die. I won. The victory's in my Father. I came and I did exactly what He told me to do. I was obedient. My reward is waiting. I overcame. And yes, with all the power to calm the storms and all the power to walk on water, I'm going to submit to an arrest that is not fair. I'm going to submit to a trial that is not fair. And I'm going to allow them to take my life, even though I can walk away from it, even though I can call the angels from heaven and stop it. So what was his response? He overcame the world by doing the things God had called him to do. What else did he do? He taught all. He was the friend of sinners, and when they give him that moniker, he doesn't deny it. But he also never compromised. Zacchaeus, I'll have lunch with you. Well, let's talk about this on the road home. And it says, if you read it in the original, it says he stopped. Zacchaeus stopped in the process of walking towards his house and turned to Jesus and made everything right. Jesus didn't compromise. He silenced his critics with purity. Remember, just recently we mentioned the fact that when he gets to trial, they can find no fault in him. Pilate can find no fault in him. Herod can find no fault in him. Pilate, the second time, finds no fault in him. And they cannot make an accusation stick, so they have to make things up. They have to create charges and lie about him. So he silenced his critics. That's what takes us to our text in Peter. And we read again, servants, be submissive to your masters with all respect. And then he says, listen, I'm going to make sure that you understand this. I'm not telling you to be submissive to those who are good and gentle only. Be submissive to those who are unreasonable. Wear your Christianity everywhere you go and allow it to dominate the way you act and react and respond. This finds favor if for the sake of conscience towards God, a man bears up under sorrow when suffering unjustly. In fact, he's going to go on and say in verse 20, what credit is there when you sin and you're mistreated for it or you're treated harshly for it? You got exactly what you deserved. Even if you endure it with patience. He said, where's the credit go? But when you do what is right and you suffer for it, then you find favor in the eyes of God. Now then, verse 21. We love verse 21. We love the fact that Jesus left us footprints to follow. Well, we even sing footprints of Jesus, before us lead. All right, I'm going to do my thing. Context. What is he saying? He said the example Jesus left for you is, number one, he was sinless. Number two, he was persecuted even though he was sinless. Number three, he endured it and never said a word back in response to it. That when he was reviled, he didn't revile back. That he put his trust in God and he did what he was called to do and allowed the world to do its thing. And he went on about his business. So we're going to follow his footsteps. How do I respond to a world that laughs at me? How do I respond to a world that ridicules me? How do I respond to a world that can reach the point that Satan has enough of its ear that they will assassinate a man in front of thousands and family, because he took a stand for truth, how do I respond to it? I silence them with purity. I don't give them a reason to call me out. My life matches my teachings. So that when they call me on trial, they have to make up things to say about me if they're going to take my life. What do? I love and I confront. I love the way that Christ loved. I give my life to save as many as I possibly can, but I do not compromise. I do not say it is okay because I love you for you to do whatever you want to do. I say, no, because I love you, I'm going to interrupt what you're doing that is wrong, that will destroy your life, that will destroy the ones around you. And I'm going to lead you back to the fact that there is a standard. And what do I do as a Christian? If necessary, this was straight from the text now, 1 Peter 2, I suffer and die. Somebody texted me after this morning and said they appreciated what I said. And this is what I said to him in my text, and I'll say it to you. Sometimes we think, because we get our feelings hurt, or we see an injustice, and that's what it is, I get it. We think we can turn to Scripture and Jesus is storming castles. Jesus died standing for the truth. Stephen died standing for the truth. They were not storming castles. The book of Acts, Christians are not taking up arms and marching in the street against Rome. They are being led to the Colosseum to die. And by their purity, they are taking their stand. So if I need to die, I die. I do not seek revenge. It is not my job. God will handle that in His time. We serve a just God. He is merciful. He is graceful. But at the end of time, when judgment comes about for this world, He says, I'll take care of the rest of it. You just trust me and write it out. If you don't believe me, look at the images Paul is painting in 1 and 2 Thessalonians. The Son of God Himself, who allowed Himself to be murdered, said, I tell you what I'll do. I'll come back in flaming fire with angels and a sword, and I will take vengeance on those who do not know me. Let me handle it. I'll do it personally, and I promise you I'll take care of my business. It's not my job. Can I speak out against injustice? Absolutely. Can I take a stand? Absolutely. But I do it within the same framework that Jesus established, that Peter says, those are the footsteps. That's exactly how you walk. And on top of all of that, let's get close to this end here. Don't fear those who can kill only the body. If someone was to storm God's castle tonight and take our lives for standing for the truth, all we have done is gone home. Others around us hurt? Absolutely. But what have we been living for our entire lives? Paul said, you know what? For me to live is Christ. For me to die is gain. I'll go any minute that God says the work's done. And he went to Rome knowing, hear me, knowing he had already been told what was waiting. If you go back to Jerusalem, they're going to arrest you and you're going to end up in the hands of them at Rome, and you're not coming back this time. And Paul went. The path he travels in Acts mentally is very similar to, it says, when Jesus set his mind to Jerusalem. Paul said, I got to go. I have a chance to address the head of the heads in our secular world, and it's going to cost me my life, and I have to go. How do we respond when the world hates us? We respond exactly like Jesus did, and anything beyond that is outside the scope of what I've been authorized by God to do. Are there going to be times that we are lambs led to the slaughter? It is possible. And if it comes to that, it's okay. The saints under the altar are there because they died for the cause in the book of Revelation. And they even come back and say, God, how long do we have to wait till you take care of this? God said, don't worry about it. In my time, I'll handle it. So look, yes, be heartbroken over what's happened in our country. Be heartbroken that our world is that evil. Do everything you can to reach those who are lost. Do everything you can to stand for the truth, but do it with a Christ-like demeanor that allows you to stand before your gods with a clean heart and clean hands and say, I did it your way, just like your son, as we stand and sing.